What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack Kelly, host of Point to the Spot, a US-based podcast focused on the world of football. Not joining me today is my entirely bonkers friend, Reed Hammond. He is busy being a bollocks off somewhere on his uni's campus. Joining the show today, though, as always, is a future presidential candidate, Ball for Prez 2020. I can't stay at Donald Trump's America, Andrew Ball. Andrew, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. This is a historic day because this is the first podcast that Reed has missed.
This is going to be the best podcast that we have ever done.
That's what we say when we don't have you.
I know, but
this time it'll be true.
But screw Reed, because we have the two actual football minds on the pod today. Anyways, guys, this is a sad time because Andrew and I, to some extent, do not care for international football as much as we care for the club game. And because of this, we are saddened that FIFA has so rudely broken up an important part of the season, being the tail end of the Premier League and the beginning of MLS, with an international break. However, some stuff did happen this midweek, and today we're just going to have a nice little chat about football. Sound good?
Sounds great to me.
So I guess the place that we should start is with my beloved Chicago Fire. Bastian Schweinsteiger, the one-time Bayern great, former German international. He's played everywhere and nowhere in terms of international. Spent a lot of time, pretty much his entire career with Bayern before switching to Manchester United, if I believe is correct. Sounds right. And of course, he spent the last 2 seasons at Manchester United, kind of rotting away under Louis van Gaal and then Jose Mourinho. But on Tuesday, big announcement from Chicago, because Chicago Fire, the MLS grandfather team, greatest club in MLS, a little bit of a reach on that one, announced that Bastian Schweinsteiger
would like a word.
Bastian Schweinsteiger will actually be joining the Chicago Fire on a 1-year deal, reportedly worth about 4.5 million American for the season, which seems kind of silly because he's already missed 3 matches. But that'll make him the 10th highest paid player in the league, which is both an encouraging sign and kind of interesting that 4.5 million only puts you at 10th. Personally, very conflicted about this. But I think we should start with an outside party, being you, Andrew, to see your take on the matter, to tell me if I'm crazy to think that this signing was kind of dumb from Nelson Rodriguez.
Yeah, I personally think it's a terrible signing. But you can't deny that it does add a bit of commercial and general gravitas to the Fire, a team that's kind of been searching for relevance in the Chicago sports scene, that's been trying to make itself relevant really in all of MLS for a while now. Its glory days have been behind it, shall we say, at least if you've been watching the past couple of seasons. So from that end, I mean, it'll sell some shirts. It'll maybe fill up Toyota Park a little more than it has been the past couple of years. But, I mean, you're devoting $4.5 million to a guy that essentially fulfills the same role in your team that Dax McCarty and Juninho do. And you're going to have a glacially slow midfield. I mean, I think that Cuauhtemoc Blanco, who's 44 and the mayor of a city in Mexico, could probably outrun Bastian Schweinsteiger at this point. So they probably should have just brought him back.
One time Pachuca great. Shout out to Cesar.
Yeah, well, we're working the Liga MX hard here. And if you haven't listened to that interview show, you should go check it out.
We'll make sure we put it in the show notes.
We don't agree to do that now, so.
I know, it sucks. It's like we're without our office assistant.
But yeah, I think that if you're going to frame it as you're bringing in a guy to sell shirts, that's fine. But Nelson Rodriguez is framing it as this transformative footballing decision that will significantly improve the product on the field. And given the fact that the Fire's problems were not in midfield, they have the aforementioned McCarty and Juninho and Arturo Alvarez and Matt Polster, who's hurt right now. Their problems are in the defensive end, namely having Michael Harrington as a right back.
Hey, don't dog my man.
And you think of what 4.5 million could have done to improve other aspects of the team that, has looked solid through 3 matches in MLS. And Kevin McCauley, I was reading, I'll let you jump back in here a second, Jack, sorry, but I was reading Kevin McCauley, who made a really good point that you look at the big name DP signings from the past 5 years, and relatively few have even been remotely successful. Lampard, Gerrard, Pirlo have flashes of greatness, but like
Pirlo just is on the pitch to get blown past.
Yeah, he walks around for 75 minutes and then gets subbed off. So I mean, it's possible Schweinsteiger will just start dropping dimes to David Accam, and I'll look like an idiot, and I'll readily accept that if that happens, because I think that'd be fun, good for MLS. But given his injury history and what the Fire's needs are, I don't see it as a particularly good move.
Yeah, I don't really love it either. It's just like doesn't make sense. And I think in Nelson Rodriguez's mind, and what a lot of the pundits have been talking about, is that this is going to be some sort of like transformative signing for the Fire where their whole play style is going to be different. And they're talking about how now they're going to be a counterattacking team. And like to begin with, let's set something straight. They're pretty much already a counterattacking team. They play very much that wannabe Liverpool style where they press really high, try to force the ball out, go on, whatever. But the big success for the Fire comes on the counter most of the time because we've got really quick players like David Accam. And I mean, with Juninho and McCarty delivering the ball through the midfield, it works well. I just don't see where Schweinsteiger fits into this team. And the fact that we're going to spend so much money on it is insane to me. Like you said, with Juninho and McCarty, why would you sign another box-to-box midfielder who I could beat in a 40-yard dash?
And the hilarious thing is someone made this point that they sold Harry Shipp a few years ago because he didn't fit into Panovic's system. He was too slow. And now they're bringing in Schweinsteiger, who, yeah, like you said, is not fast. So it kind of calls into question, like if you're going to spin this as a good move that fits into the system, then I think you have to start questioning, if you haven't already, some of Nelson Rodriguez's decisions the past 2 or 3 years. And I know Reed likes to think of Nelrod as a genius, and I think
quote greatest general manager in all of sports, unquote.
I mean, and I think he had a good offseason this past year, but I mean, there had been some head scratching decisions from the Fire's perspective.
Lately, yeah, I mean,
and this is one of them.
I mean, good. They've been good, right? So I think that he's been very practical. And that's like a good word to use for MLS in an instance like this, I think, is practical, right? So Nemanja Nikolic, not a big name. I mean, sure, big name, coming from Europe, playing with Legia Warsaw, doing good things, scoring a bunch against Dortmund in the Champions League group stage. But, like, people aren't going to go to the club shop and buy Nemanja Nikolic shirts. He's a good DP signing because he's a good player and is going to be valuable and could be an MLS best 11 player this season, I think. He's going to score a ton. But he's not the kind of person that's going to just draw in, an extra 8,000 fans so that Toyota Park is sold out. I think the Schweinsteiger deal is like, gives them some big name, like, some notoriety, but like it doesn't make any sense. He's not going to make the team very often, I don't think. And like, if in his mind, or at least in Panovic's and Rodriguez's mind, if they're going to play him as a number 10, as an attacking midfielder, that doesn't make sense either, because then what are you going to do with Michael Deleu and Arturo Alvarez? I know John Goossens is out, but even when he comes back, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the signing, and I think this is I think this was a signing that was lined up and made a lot of sense before they swooped and took McCarty away from the Red Bulls.
I agree with that. Well, and also, I think this deal is interesting to me, not as a Fire fan, but also looking at the broad philosophy with how MLS teams operate, right? So there's a reason this past summer that the average age of DP signings was something like 25 or 26. And there's a reason why teams did not go after John Terry or Wayne Rooney or Schweinsteiger. They went for, guys like Albert Rusnak in Salt Lake, or Sebastian Blanco and, going to Portland. There's a reason that these were the deals that were made. Because like you said, they're not the sexy names that like you've heard of, playing FIFA or watching the International Champions Cup, but they're guys who are DP signings are going to come out and win you games. So the Fire did that with Juninho McCarthy, and yeah, given that, it's a little puzzling.
Yeah, and I think
we're kind of repeating ourselves at this point.
Yeah, but I think that this is actually an interesting point to go down, and I think that just talking, we love to talk about how what we want to do with this podcast is not only talk about football, but and to some extent promote football within the United States. Obviously, we've done a lot of stuff with non-league America. We've talked about like Liga MX, even though it's not based in the United States, but growing in the U.S. and building that football soccer culture here. And I think that MLS is finally realizing that they don't need to get big name players anymore. They don't need they don't need people to have recognizable names anymore. They need players that deliver something on the field, because the Fire very well may have Bastian Schweinsteiger, who I think a lot of people may not even have heard of, because he's kind of always been like a low-key player in some ways for people outside of the soccer world. Not a John Terry or a David Villa or Sebastian Giovinco. But like, I think you're right with them getting players that are going to win them games, because look at teams that are super popular right now. Portland, probably arguably the most popular team in the league, because they're good. People go and they sell out Providence Park because they're good. It's not because they want to go see, Darlington Nagbe play or the other Argentine that they just signed that's not Diego Valeri. But
Sebastian Blanco.
Yeah, Blanco. Thank you. But I think it's a good step. Same thing with Atlanta, getting the Paraguayan, and also Joseph Martinez. They just signed after scoring 5 times and 2 goals. They only needed 3 games to sign him on his full transfer over instead of the loan deal. This is good, I think, because people don't so much care about the name anymore. They care about the product. And I think that when, there's that hunger and that fan base to want like a better club, a better team, a better performance, I think that's going to help the United States soccer as a whole grow. And I think it's going to help the league grow and hopefully catch up to Liga MX, like you guys talked about with Cesar.
Well, and also, I'll just slip one last point. And as someone who remembers MLS from the days when they needed David Beckham to kind of prop things up, now the branding of teams like Portland, like the branding is that the teams are fun to watch and the games are fun to go to. And like, you don't need the stragglers who have never watched a soccer game but have watched Bennett like Beckham to come in and buy tickets. Because like, you have a product, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch that really, is significant too. So. But that being said, I hope that maybe the Fire can use this deal to kind of increase their stature in a pretty crowded Chicago sports scene.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I definitely think there is good opportunity. Obviously, everyone in the Chicagoland, regardless of what baseball team they normally were fans of, are on the Cubs bandwagon right now. But the Bears are bad. The Bulls are bad. White Sox are bad. Like, there is a market, and Chicago sports fans have always been hungry. Growing up in the Midwest, they've always seen this. Are hungry for a good product. They're very critical all the time. And I think that if the Fire can compete, I think that they can put themselves back on the map. Unfortunately, the organization did decide to move them out to Bridgeview instead of buying space and building a stadium in downtown Chicago. That's a whole nother thing that we could talk about for hours.
One Fire-related question, because we're just chatting here, right?
Yeah, it's a chat about football.
How excited are you to have the MLS All-Star Game in Chicago this summer?
From 1 to 10, I think you should be excited. Personally, I'm very excited. I'm at like a 9 because I think I'm going to go, which is fun.
That would bump it up a few notches, I would think.
Yeah, it'll be super cool. A great opponent. They're playing Barcelona. Like, who wouldn't want to go?
I think it might be Madrid. One of those two. I'm not sure they've actually announced it yet.
Yeah, I
remember which one.
Rumors have been flying around on both of them. But like, either way, you're going to get to see MSN or BBC, whatever you want. But like, I think that this shows from the league that, because you look back, like okay, a little personal plug here. I write a Fire history column for Hot Time in Old Town. When I look back and I'm looking at stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s when the Fire were just becoming a thing, like, they were like the poster children of the league. They got everything. They hosted tons of U.S. Open Cup finals. They had MLS Cup twice, I want to say. They had an all-star game. Like, it was a super popular hot place because there was a demand for soccer. And I think that this is a good move from the league to show everybody that they're like, hey, Chicago's still here. They made the right moves. They're going to be relevant again. Plus, whether you like him, if you think a system's going to work, I think Veljko Paunovic is a really exciting young coach, having won the U20 World Cup. So I think he's a very exciting coach. He speaks good English, and which is like a funny thing to think about, but they love to do interviews with him. So I think Paunovic is a good signing for the Fire too, and he looks good for the league. So I am excited because I think that this is a sign from the league that they still care about Chicago. And I think the last few seasons, they really haven't because the Fire have been so bad. And I think getting the All-Star game back will be, exciting because people will go just to see the big names, and then they'll be there and they'll see a couple of the Fire players I'm expecting just because, they're the hosts. So usually they get the votes, but that in air quotes, even if they don't. And Paunovic will be there, Rodriguez, and I'm excited. I think it'll be cool. I don't know. I think it'll be really cool. And I think it is good for the franchise, and I think it's good for Chicago soccer, if that makes sense.
I totally agree. I'm on board. I love to see the original franchises get some love because I think that in American soccer, we're often drawn to the next big, shiny thing. And at the moment, that's Atlanta. A couple seasons ago, that was Orlando. A couple seasons before that, it was Portland. And we forget about, that the groundwork really has been laid in cities like Denver and Columbus and Chicago and Boston for many, many, many years, DC, near where I'm from. And, that those franchises really have a lot of rich history and things to offer. They might not be the sexiest selling out, NFL stadiums or whatnot, but they got a lot to offer. So, yay, Chicago, yay, All-Star game.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that the league needs to not forget about the franchises that made them or made the league what it is today.
That prevented them from going bankrupt.
Pretty much. I mean,
even though they came close.
Yeah, I mean, in large part, that's on the back of clubs like the Galaxy, DC United come to mind, the Revolution, the Fire when they came in and were so hot. I think that did help prevent them from becoming a modern day NASL.
Speaking of American soccer, Jack, U.S. men's national team, eh?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing a couple qualifiers, and those are big ones. And so, guys, we're going to take a really quick break and stick around for part 2 of the show when we talk about the upcoming World Cup qualifiers between the U.S. men's national team and Honduras and then Panama. So we'll be right back. Enjoy the music. That's a good little transition you had there. I don't know. I felt like we should just throw it in because we'd been talking for a little while.
We have. I like the breaks when I'm listening, but that was a good segment.
No, I think it's like I like doing reviews of the games, but I also love when we can just like talk about stuff.
I think eventually that should be where we get to, where we just like hit on the storylines from the matches that we want to hit on.
Yeah, I think a big do you listen to Pod Save America?
Yeah, I have.
I love the way, obviously it's funny because they just like bash on Republicans all the time, and I find that funny because I'm pretty progressively minded. But I like the way that I like the structure of their show where it's very like approachable and not like jargon filled and excuse me. It's like the three of them goofing around with one another,
Yeah, I definitely like to. Eventually move our show more like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. They host Honduras in San Diego on Friday.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then they go to Costa Rica.
Go to Panama. And play on Wednesday, I think. It's Thursday.
Good God.
March 24th. And then it doesn't say when they play in Panama. Just 4 days later. 25th, 26th, 20, so what's the 28th? Is it Wednesday? It makes sense if it was Wednesday. Tuesday. Yesterday. Tuesday. Yeah, they play on Tuesday, the 28th.
Quick turnaround.
It is a quick turnaround.
Maybe that's why they had in San Diego.
That's not bad. No kidding. All right, we're back at 5. Or also maybe it's U.S. Soccer trying to impress Don Carter to get a MLS team. 4. 3. You want to do the intro, or you want me to do it?
No, I got you. Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Reed Hammondless episode. I am Andrew Ball.
Woo! No Reed!
And that celebrating voice on the other end you hear is Jack Kelly. And we are back to talk about the U.S. men's national team ahead of two make or break. Is that safe to say, Jack? Make or break qualifiers against Honduras and Panama, with the match against Honduras coming up in just, well, we don't know when this is going to get edited. It's coming up Friday. And this is huge. No more Jurgen Klinsmann. It's Bruce Arena in the house
God.
now. And we will see what good old BA has in store for us. A couple big injuries for the U.S. with Bobby Wood and Jordan Morris not available for the Stars and Stripes. Jack, how are you feeling? These are big for if the U.S. wants to make the World Cup. How are you? Are you a little nervous?
Yeah. So let's talk about this. You said make or break. This is more like make, or the U.S. men's national team will never ever be mentioned again on Point to the Spot, because I hate watching the national team because it makes me so damn anxious all the time. All the time.
They're such an infuriating team.
It's like watching Arsenal play, except I care a lot less than let's say it's like watching Arsenal play, but I care a lot more than I should, because they always build me up and just to disappoint me. U.S. men's national team, pretty much the Arsenal of the international world.
I think that might be giving a little too much credit, even.
Not in terms of quality, more in terms of disappointment.
That's probably true.
Let's just run through the squad really quick so people have a good idea of who they brought up. Lot of MLS guys in this one, which I love to see. Personally, love to see. For goalkeeper,
Bruce Arena's past too.
Yeah, very true.
He loves those MLS guys. Anyway, as you were.
Goalkeepers: David Bingham from the Earthquakes, Tim Howard, who's that, and Nick Rimando of Real Salt Lake. Then we have defenders: DeMarcus Beasley. Beasley getting another call-up. Grandpa back on the team. Matt Beasler, John Brooks, Jeff Cameron, Omar Gonzalez, Michael Orozco, Tim Ream of Fulham in England. Not a lot of people know about him, but he's a class little player. Jorge Villafaña, Walker Zimmerman. Love me some Walker Zimmerman. And then Graham Zusi. I think it's really funny that they list Graham Zusi as a defender.
He's been playing right back for the SKC and for the national team.
So I mean, he's looked pretty good.
It's probably where they'll play him Friday, but
I'd expect
what
him
effect
to.
We don't know.
Midfielders, we have superstar, would pay any amount of money / I would give up my firstborn child and Bastian Schweinsteiger to have him. Kellen Acosta, Alejandro Bedoya, Michael Bradley, Jermaine Jones, Sacha Kljestan, Sebastian Letget, Dax McCarty, my man, Darlington Nagbe, my other man, and Christian Pulisic, your boy, who I also love, the 18-year-old out of playing for Borussia Dortmund over in the Bundesliga. And then forwards: Josie Altidore, Clint Dempsey, not Jordan Morris, who got scratched due to an injury, and recently added Chris Wondolowski. So, with that in mind, a pretty mixed bag between U.S. men's national team veterans, I guess, usuals, regulars, and a couple of fresh faces who Bruce Arena, being an MLS guy, giving them some big chances. I guess we'll start with who do you like getting a call-up, and who do you dislike getting a call-up?
Yeah, well, we were talking before the show. This is a tough roster for Bruce Arena because, if he rewards some guys who have earned call-ups but don't have experience, and then the U.S. lose, he's going to be second guess for, why did you give these guys caps? And they don't have the experience. They don't know the system. And, if you bring up guys like Chris Wondolowski, you may not win, but you're probably not going to get criticized. So, I feel for Bruce Arena in that respect. But at the same time, Kellen Acosta, who has been absolute class. I mean, he just bossed around for FC Dallas in their CONCACAF Champions League.
He is so good.
And he's had such a good start to this season. So awesome seeing him get a call up. I'd really like to see him alongside Michael Bradley in kind of holding midfield role, kind of throwing long balls up to Dempsey and Altidore. That probably won't happen, but, we can dream.
And one thing with Acosta, too, ludicrous, they were playing him at freaking right back with the U23 team that didn't qualify for the Olympics. He's the best damn player on the field, and you're not playing him in the middle of the park. Crazy to me. Crazy to me. Super good. Continue.
And then, you know, it almost pains me to say it, but then guys like Walker Zimmerman, like, should be shoo-ins for call-ups, but, you know, sometimes things happen, and we see randos getting called up. But I love Walker Zimmerman, Texas Walker Zimmerman, as we like to call him on this show. Who else?
I like the Nagby call up again.
Oh, Nagby should be just like a shoe-in starter for these guys now. I mean,
there's a few guys I think in this roster that I don't know if they will. I mean, I think that Bruce Arena has been way better already than Jurgen Klinsmann in making his presence known and getting out to these MLS matches to see these guys play. For me, Kellen Acosta, fantastic, lights out, would be maybe the first guy that I put on the team because he's just been that good so far. Nagby's got to start for me. I've been kind of underwhelmed with Sacha Kljestan so far. I don't know if he's handling the step into being the guy in New York that well.
Yeah, I'd like to see Letjet get a run out over Kljestan.
Former Hammer.
That's true. That's not why, but
he's good for the Galaxy.
He's a very underrated player. I think U.S. men's national team fans don't think of him as being quite elite. And I mean, in terms of experience, he's not. But I think in terms of what he's shown for the Galaxy, he's been super, super good. And I would not object to seeing him start on Friday or next week.
No, I absolutely agree. And I have a couple question marks about the fact of why he brought 10 defenders with on this trip when the likes of, I don't really think John Brooks has earned that much of a call-up lately. I don't think...
but he's by far your best defender.
Yeah, I agree.
Fabian Johnson hurt.
That's true. But I don't know if Jeff Cameron really deserves a spot on this roster.
Yeah, I mean...
For me...
Kind of got to dance with the ones who you brung in at this point for Bruce Arena.
For me, I would have loved to see... I'd like to see... I don't know. I'm torn between like a Matt Beasler... I think I would like to see a John Brooks and Walker Zimmerman center back pairing. I think that's strong. I like
that, that's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like Graham Zusi at right back too. I think that for so long they've just lacked having that creative wing player coming out of the back, which is kind of made the offense stall. But like I don't get like why isn't like a guy like Garza from Atlanta. Why didn't he get a call-up? He's been terrific so far this season. And he was good when he was playing in Liga MX.
That's a good point, actually.
Because I think he would be...
He's looked good.
Does he play left back at Atlanta?
I actually don't... Yeah, I think they've been kind of toying with him.
He could be anywhere on the back line, really.
Yeah, and I think that's why they like him at Atlanta. Just the flexibility that he provides. And, if you're going to give so many defenders call-ups, I think that's a strong argument in Greg Garza's favor.
Yeah, but I don't see the need for Omar Gonzalez or Tim Reen.
Or Michael Orozco.
Or Michael Orozco. Even I know Beasley's there just kind of as to be like a, look guys, the shit's hit the fan. I'm here to help scrape it off in the locker room and be that steady voice. But you know what I mean? That's important. I get it. But at the same time, don't call him up and use a roster spot. Just freaking bring him as a coach. Player manager. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. I really, 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 really do like a John Brooks, Walker Zimmerman center back pairing, though. I think they're going to be terrific together. What do you think about midfielders? Who do you think? What would you like to see, formation wise and play style, and with the 9 that we have with us?
Yeah, I think that so. Michael Bradley's going to start, and it's always a point of contention because he, 3/4 of the time, looks like absolute horse shit on the field for the U.S. men's national team, and the other quarter looks really good. I think that he works best as kind of that holding midfield position, paired with someone protecting the back line, but then working to feed a Christian Pulisic or a Darlington Abbey along the flank.
I absolutely agree.
So
I don't like him as an attacking midfielder.
No, it's just, or even centrally in a 4-4-2. It just, I don't think it works. I think it's better to just build into the tactics, have him as a more playing as a more holding role. I think Christian Pulisic and Darlington Nagbe must start if they're going to get anything on Friday. I mean, you look at who has been the best form for the national team. I mean, both those guys, I think, immediately jump to mind. And
Nagbe looks so good last time out. In those friendlies against Serbia, he looked terrific. And I forget who they played against most recently.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But I mean, he just, it's the quickness. He draws fouls like no one's business. And then, the U.S. don't have to be perfect these two games. They just got to nick a couple goals and escape with 6 points. And then they're back on track in the hex.
But they got to have 6 points.
Yeah, exactly. But at this point, it's by any means necessary. So, if that means whipping in a free kick after Darlington Nagbe gets hacked down, outside the box, and Matt Besler gets a head on it and pokes it by the Panamanian goalkeeper, you take what you can get at this point. So, it's the little things that I think are going to matter. And I think that Nagbe and Pulisic, ironically, given the fact that they're less experienced, have those down and have really shown in their body of work for their clubs that they're willing to, it's work rate, it's winning balls, it's doing the little things that are going to secure.
It's a desire to win.
Well, there's that too.
I think we talk about this all the time in sports, and I don't want to say that the United States men's national team has a losing mentality, because I don't think they have a losing mentality. I think they have a complacent mentality, if that makes sense. I think they're so set, and some of them are so set on being average, that I really like the fresh faces of Walker Zimmerman. I like David Bingham getting a call up a little bit, because that's a little surprising to me. He has been kind of bad with the earthquakes. We saw him.
I would have rather he did Stefan get a call up from the crew, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, but Bingham was a little surprising given his little mishap in goal last weekend. I think Pulisic is great. I think Nagbe is great. I'm bummed Morris is out, because the three of them together are young and they play quick, interchanging football. They press hard. That sucks. Bobby Wood, same way. I love Bobby Wood. A little bit on that complacency. Stinks that he's out. I think Dempsey's a winner, though, so I kind of like having Clint back into the lineup. I don't know.
I don't know about complacency. I mean, I think that's a fair point. I think of it more almost as an inferiority complex. And I kind of blame Jurgen Klinsmann for this a little bit. All the time he spent railing against MLS. And that's fine. But when 3/4 of your guys are MLS guys, you take every opportunity to pot shot MLS, those guys are going to step on the pitch thinking, I have to either do superhuman things to win my manager's trust, or, he's just going to hate me no matter.
Hello? Hello? No.